Well, today we're starting on the chassis on the Jeep, and Connor is bringing some of the pieces right now with this box right here. We're going to cheat a little bit and use some pre-manufactured stuff here on the front of it. So we'll open this up, check this out, and show you what all we got. So this is our first look at our G-Comp front clip section here that we're using for starting our chassis out with. And this came from Speedway. We're trying to make this thing handle and drive as close as we can to a Corvette, basically, I guess, if you will. We want it to be on rails. So we're using this stuff here to try to do that. We've got the whole entire kit here, so let's go ahead and pull the rest of it out of here and see what all we got. So these are the top A arms. You've seen us pull those out, and they've got a slotted deal here to allow you to put different shims in here at different pieces or different spots and set your front end up with caster and camber different. I don't know what we're going to end up being at, so it comes with a 0, 1, 2, and 3, and that just kind of moves you back and forth here. We're just going to start off at 0, I guess, and go from there. I'm sure it'll get changed and moved around later, but that's where we're going to start at. Just got to tap those in a little bit. That one, man. This one must have a little burr on it. So that's kind of the first little interesting thing we've found so far. We're just going to go ahead and start putting bolts in, and if we come up across something else that seems like it might be interesting, we'll slow the video down and show you that. So this front section went together pretty good. Don't think we had any really issues or anything with it going together, and it's pretty self-explanatory. The shims and stuff, we put all of them in just where we'd be able to keep track of all of them. I'm assuming we won't need this many shims when it's all said and done, but until we get to that point, we don't know. And the only thing that we did see a little bit weird is it was just a little off from the sway bar from side to side. And it wasn't much, just a little bit. We had to lift the one arm up just a hair to get the bolt to go in. So overall though, it seems like a pretty nice kit and went together real easy. Now we got the motor dropped in here and we're kind of messing around with that a little bit, kind of looking to see where we're going to be at. And the air conditioner compressor over there on that side that Connor's taking off is in the way. So we need to get that off and out of the way. We're not going to have AC anyways. So we'll just get that done and off of there, and then we can kind of position this thing where it seems like the motor's going to end up. Went ahead and put a gauge on here and checked it, and the motor's kind of already sitting at about 3 degrees, just sitting there on the pans. So that should be pretty good on our motor angle. So if we need to move it, we can just go straight up from here. We don't want to go lower than here because we don't want the oil pans or the training pan hanging down lower than anything that's going to be like cross members and whatnot that'll keep it from getting damaged if we have a wreck. So, or have it drag on something, not have a wreck. So we get this off and kind of move this around a little bit and show you guys what it looks like. Alright, so it's the next morning and I kind of played with this some more after I turned the camera off with you guys yesterday. And this is kind of where I've got everything kind of set and figured that it's going to be for now. It's definitely not set in stone yet because we've got some variables that we don't know the answers to yet. One of which being is exactly where this needs to be to make it lay frame and work with the wheels and tires that we have. So I'm going to take those down and get those mounted here in just a little bit. And then once we get those back, we'll be able to put those on and kind of do some more fitting and testing and see exactly where we're at. But what I'm thinking, just so that you guys are all on the same page with me here, is we want this thing to lay frame, or as close as we can to lay frame, all the way down to the ground. So with the body. So with that said, we need air ride, of course. This front end is not actually set up for air ride. There is not enough room in here to put any kind of bag, be it even one on a strut or anything like that. But what I think that we can get away with doing is going ahead and taking and using our bottom mounts here for our coilover bolts on. I'm gonna cut this stuff off up here at the top and oval out this hole here just a little bit where the shock is supposed to go through. And I think if I do that, we can build a cantilever setup just inside here underneath the, or in front of the motor, and between it and the grill shell, kind of hide it a little bit, but you'll still be able to see it some. And we'll build a cantilever setup that's going to allow us to do a rocker up here at the top, use a strut style airbag setup, and if you don't know what that is, I'll show you a picture of it right now. We should be able to use something like that to come in here, build a rocker setup, cantilever type setup, however you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, and then a rod will come down here and go straight down to where our coil mounts are on this bottom A-arm. So that's my plan at this point, but I can't go any further with that until I have tires and wheels mounted and put on here so we can check everything as far as all that goes. And we also get the struts with the bags on them here and have those all sitting here to make sure everything's going to kind of work together. So I'm not going to cut any of this off or any of that yet until we get that here. So once we get this all figured out up here, my plan is to add some more square tubing to the bottom of this square tubing and kind of just do a Z through this area and then extend it on the rest of the way with this square tubing here. This square tubing is 2x3, just like it is here, except for this is only 1/8 inch wall, and this is 3/16 wall. So we're going to be a lot thicker and a lot heavier duty than what this was designed for originally. But I'm okay with that. I want it to be a good, stout, sturdy chassis because we're going to have a lot of horsepower coming out of this thing. I think I looked it up. These are naturally 485 horse or something like that neighborhood, and about the same in torque and all that. So that's a pretty healthy little unit right there. So we need something to be able to hold that all together, keep everything from twisting and getting all jacked up. Plus, we're going to build probably some kind of a roll cage type setup off of this chassis to be able to enclose the cabin area of the Jeep, if you will, and make it safe, because this thing could get pretty wild pretty quick. So yeah, we're gonna build it kind of like a tank. The cool thing about it is, even throwing a bunch of extra weight like big heavy square tubing in here for chassis, we only have like, I'm gonna say less than 500 pounds of body of sheet metal that's going on this thing. So it's still going to be a pretty lightweight unit. I mean, compared to like these cars normally are probably 4,000 pounds that the motor like this is in, we're going to probably be closer to just a little over half that, maybe would be my guess. So half the weight, same power, and those cars are fast. I think they're generally, you know, in the 13-second quarter mile, and what was the numbers? I think 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds or something. So if we cut half the weight off of that thing, and if we can get it to hook, of course, that'd be the other question. But at any rate, it's gonna be a bad boy. So I guess we'll come back to this once we've got a little bit more stuff here to be able to work with and mess with, and go from there. So we've been doing all the talking about the front end of this thing. You guys are probably wondering what we're doing in the back of it. I showed this once before in another video, I think, but we're going to go ahead and cover it again. So this is a Curry Dana 60, and this has got kind of a custom center section here that gives it a high pinion and also rotates that diff cover up to the top. It's a rock crawling application is kind of what this is for, and it's got all the beef in there with the Dana 60 stuff going on. It's also got to have a locker in there, I'm pretty sure. And it's also got disc brakes in it. It's already got 5-lug axles in it. So it really does make a pretty good candidate to be able to go behind all the horsepower that we've got going on up here in the front of this thing, because this should handle a lot, especially with no bigger tire than we're going with this thing. Generally, this is going to see like, you know, 35s or 37s or something like that in most applications. So with the smaller tires that we've got now, it shouldn't be a problem holding up to anything that we want to throw at this thing right here. The only thing that we've got going on here that we're going to have to kind of modify and change is this is set up for like a TJ, so it's kind of a stock replacement type of deal, and we're not going to be able to use some of these brackets and whatnot here, so we'll have to cut some of that off, redo some of that, but that'll be another day. That'll be after we go ahead and get everything kind of put together with the front and get a chassis built back here to the back, so that we know exactly where everything's all going to go. But yeah, I guess I'm going to go ahead and grab the tires and wheels out of the back of the truck. Just got those mounted up, and I think to begin with, pull this down and throw some on here just to make this where it's easier to move around a little bit. And we'll see if it happens to be wide enough now to go and have the body fit between the tires or not. I haven't measured that out yet 100%. It's going to be pretty close, so the only way we'll know for sure is go ahead and bolt some up and get a measurement and see. So the wheel and tire combo looked pretty awesome on here. I think that's going to be the ticket for this setup for sure. And it does bolt to the axle, and it does have actually technically enough room to where we can drop the body down on there. I was actually going to try to grab the body with the old forklift thing here, but that thing is a turd, and the battery only lasts for about 30 minutes of use, and I haven't plugged it in for a couple of days, so there you go. I need to get my gas forklift over here, if you guys know what I mean, so I don't have to deal with that anymore. But anyways, long story short, yes, the body will fit between there, but I only have an inch split between both sides to have a gap there, and that's probably not going to work. So we're probably going to have to order some spacers to put on here. If just a 1-inch spacer, that'll give us, you know, an 1.25 inch, 1.5 inches, I guess, of space on each side, and it still technically could rub a little here and there if it went kind of crazy off-camber type stuff, you know, but for the most part, it shouldn't rub and it should be fine, and a 1-inch spacer isn't going to do anything bad at all. I don't have any problems with I don't have a problem with putting a spacer on anything personally. I know some people are wigged out about spacers, but I've seen stupid amounts of spacers put on stuff where there's, you know, up to like a foot of spacer on there, which is ridiculous, and obviously I wouldn't do something like that, but it has actually held up and worked, and I don't know how or why or what, but I'm not going to go that far. Like I said, we'll probably just go with 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inch spacer. That would give us 2 inches on each side, and that would give us plenty. That would be all that we would need. So yeah, I guess I've got something that's pretty cool outside that I thought I might share with you guys real quick. This is probably kind of into Jeep stuff if you're only here for Jeep content, but I want to see something cool that I just picked up. It's outside on the trailer, and I'll show you that real quick. Well, it's pretty windy out here, but this is what I just drug in. Now, don't look like much just yet, but start looking, it's actually a pretty cool truck. So I do have the front clip for it. I hauled that in a separate load. I picked this up I picked up the front clip a week or so ago, and then I just picked this up over the weekend. But yeah, old Lodestar International, and if you notice the frame on this thing, the frame is one of the things that I wanted to show you guys that's just crazy. So it is sitting there on the frame right now, nothing underneath it, no suspension or whatever, no blocks. And if you look on this side, it's got the step on it on this side, and the frame is bigger. Man, I don't know if you can even see that or not. The frame right there is so big that the step isn't even touching my trailer. Let me flip the camera around and show you a little bit closer. So yeah, you can see the step is just hanging, and the cab is mounted like it's supposed to be, and that frame is just huge. So, like, here's my hand. The frame is giant. You can see where the frame is normally at. You know, right over there is what normally looks like on the frame, and there's like that extra piece down there on the bottom. There is 4 or 5 inches extra in height, and it all wraps over the top of the original frame rails. It's all doubled up and everything. It's actually probably tripled. We look in these holes here, the hole is thick. Anyways, yeah, that just kind of blew my mind on how thick that chassis was on there. And I'm not going to use it probably on anything. Actually, I'll probably end up just taking it and kind of lobbing it off right here at the back, and then get rid of this piece back here until I end up doing something with this. Then they can just stay on that little piece down there. It's actually to keep my step off the ground, keep it from rusted and everything, so I don't have to worry about that, and I don't get banged up or anything. So it's going to kind of act like a little stand. But this is a package that I hadn't never heard of before, or didn't know they even had extra packages. And I guess it's called the Sundance, or maybe a Sundance 2. I haven't put much time or energy into checking it out just yet, but it seems like apparently it must be a little bit of a special package. It's got the special paint scheme on it. You kind of see the orange and the white going on there, and then most of the hood is actually white with some orange bands on it. And here's the front clip for it. It is fiberglass front end, which some people don't like. I'm kind of leaning towards maybe that's the route that I want to go with the Lodestar. The the more that I think about it. It just seems like it would be so much nicer to work on. Beyond the special package though, I thought it was a really, really clean cab. There's not hardly any rust in it at all. Everything looks really good in it. Even like the bottoms of the doors and the rockers and all that stuff. The floor's in it pretty good. It's not rusted in through the jambs anywhere or along the windshield. Any of the spots where you usually see some of them starting to rust. And I think, what's it say, like 15,000 miles on this thing, and that's probably actually correct. I mean, a lot of these old trucks in this area don't get drove a whole lot. There is a little bit of stuff popping right through here. It must be on the other side. That's still pretty solid. You know, there's the supports and everything in there. Firewall's pretty decent. It's got some surface rust going on, of course, you know, but nothing's bubbling through. There's a little tiny speck of some stuff right here that's kind of bubbled through, but other than that, I couldn't see much going on with the rest of the cab, hardly at all. It's even still got the rubber boot in it over where the old gas tank should be on the smaller ones. It's got the cool marker lights on the top of it. I like that style marker light. It is missing the mirror on this side. That's unfortunate. It does have the mirror on the other side though. And look at this freaking steering box. This thing is ginormous too. I mean, here's my big size 13 foot. Thing is giant. I bet that gearbox weighs 100 pounds. Well, I was hoping for some shocks to come in and we could kind of play around with that a little bit over there before we wrap the video up, but it's Wednesday. I only got a few hours left to get this thing uploaded to YouTube, and I don't have any shocks yet. So then go ahead and grab the body, stick it on there. We've got a long ways to go to get that thing down, so got a lot of cutting and hacking to do to get that thing down where we want it. But like I said, it does kind of fit between the tires, so there is that, and does kind of give us a little bit of a look and a glimpse into where we're heading from here. So I guess though, I don't know what else I can do without any more stuff to work with in today's video. And like I said, I'm out of time anyways. So I guess we're gonna have to call this one a wrap, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday at 7.